There are around 44 countries in Europe, but if you check in on a map, you'll find that there are 55 members of UEFA, the European Football Confederation. 5 of them don't even border Europe at all. So how did they get in? Why does Israel play in Europe? And why does Kazakhstan play in Europe? Here's the unusual geography of UEFA. Welcome to this channel. Europe is a continent of 44 countries, but UEFA, it's a body that organizes European club competitions and international tournaments for men's and women's football. There's 55 member associations. Most of these are in or around Europe. 5 are technically outside. 2 are in Asia, 1 in Africa, and 2 in Oceania. How did they get there? Well, UEFA isn't purely a geographical organization. Sure, most of its members are in Europe, but that's not the only requirement. UEFA is open to any country that's got a good enough competition that isn't too far away and that has ties to European football. A good example of this is Turkey. Now, the vast majority of Turkish people and culture is in Asia, but the country is also home to many ethnic minorities and historically has had close cultural and trading links with Greece and Italy. These days, the national team play their home matches in the city of Istanbul, which lies in the continent of Europe. That's why Turkey competes in the UEFA Champions League and the European Championship. But things get even weirder when we look further east. Armenia, Georgia, and Azerbaijan all play in Europe too, even though their positions are borderline. You can see on this map that Kazakhstan lies predominantly in Central Asia. Only a tiny sliver of its territory is just inside the widely accepted boundaries of Europe. It's a similar story to Turkey. The main chunk of the country is in Asia, but it's applied to UEFA rather than the Asian Football Confederation. That's because after gaining independence from the Soviet Union, the Kazakh Football Federation applied to join its European counterpart. At the time, the AFC wasn't keen on accepting them. So in 2002, Kazakhstan started playing friendly matches against European sides. 2 years later, UEFA accepted them as a full member. And so nowadays, Kazakhstan competes in the UEFA European Championship Qualifiers alongside Israel. And speaking of Israel, let's look at them next. Israel currently sits just outside the top 100 in the FIFA World Rankings. That's not great, but it's a lot higher than the other 2 teams mentioned so far. But the Israel national team weren't always competing in Europe. In fact, up until the late 1980s, they were part of the Asian Confederation. But as they struggled to find suitable opponents within Asia, they began playing friendlies against European sides instead. By the late 1980s, the Israel Football Association began requesting to join UEFA after a few false starts. Finally entered the European Championship Qualifiers in 1990. They didn't qualify for the finals. But they became UEFA members in 1994 and have competed in their qualifiers ever since. So now you know why Israel plays in Europe and why Kazakhstan plays in Europe? And they aren't the only ones. Cyprus, for example, also borders Asia, but is a UEFA member too. And of course, there are plenty of examples of countries playing outside their region. Australia plays in Asia, while Guyana and Suriname, 2 South American countries, compete in the football of North America. As we found out, football follows its own map. It doesn't just follow the lines drawn on a page or a screen. It follows where the players are, who they play against, and what makes sense for their development as footballers. That's why Israel and Kazakhstan play in Europe. Thanks for watching. This is Beyond Borders FC, where football meets history. Subscribe for more stories from the pitch to the past.